Two very quick things. One, I don't recommend using headphones with this video. And secondly, please consider joining our Discord as it has just been made and I am super excited about it.
When I looked out, as far as I could see was the sun shining down. Waters as clear as crystal flowing unlimited. I have never had need or want, aside from knowing what lies beyond this place.
Lorns Lure is an unexpected horror game that, while not scary in the traditional sense, has elements of cosmic horror and existential dread that inevitably will linger with you after the credits roll. Within Lorns Lure, you're an unnamed protagonist who sets off on a journey, leaving behind the beauty of your home in search of finding a way out and knowing what lies beyond what he currently sees. While camping outside of his home base, a light appears on the door to the megastructure, and when it opens, he sees an owl in the distance, and so he goes through the door after it. After entering, the owl disappears, and he is lost in the new part of the megastructure for over 250 years. During this passage of time, or maybe even after entering this new part of the megastructure, he goes through a physical change from a much more human appearance to an android and metal robotic body. Either way, he's been trapped down here, and our adventure really begins when he goes down a hole in the ground. The first area we get to explore is called the Wall, and immediately on being in this area, we start to really feel the heaviness of the atmosphere. There is a certain emotion to know we are but a small speck in this infinitely complex structure with no apparent way forward, but trying to still traverse and find our way through it. After a while of exploring, we end up finding a corpse that's been overran by some sort of fungal infection. We also acquire our first tool, the climber's pickaxe, which allows us to climb to different parts of the megastructure. After much trial and error of finding our way through this complex structure, we get to an area with a triangular window, and on the other side we see a lush biome. This looks very much like a place that our protagonist came from, almost a type of paradise. After traversing a bit further, we finally fall down a chasm and complete the first level.
As I traversed down the spiral, my heart began to beat faster as all I've known laid behind me, now out of reach. There was no going back, only further down. Then all went dark.
Luckily, we are rescued by a friendly robot. The robot repaired our mechanical components and then offers to extend the bridge to the waste tunnels if we're able to obtain for him a mold flower. This is so he can create a medicine for the last survivor of this failed biome. This is also when we find out that the air in this area is contaminated with a type of fungal spore, and the survivor on life support was attacked, his visor being cracked open and allowing the spores to infect him. After a harrowing journey to obtain the flower and bring it back to the robot, we're able to complete the second level and make it to the waste tunnels and cave system. This is where we get our first real glimpse into how the observer's nature affects his ability to see and hear, as there are various points that we encounter bodies that are lost to the caverns, and we either hear their screams or listen to them talk about how now we are here and they won't have to die alone, even though they have been dead for years at this point. After escaping the labyrinth of caves, we are once again greeted with a seemingly large hole to travel down, and at the bottom of it is a river of black liquid. We get to a point where we have to quickly navigate a tunnel that fills with this black liquid, and at the end of it is a pipe where the liquid flows down. Now, I'm not absolutely sure here, but it almost appears that this liquid and area where the waste goes down may be a water filtration system of some kind, because as we go further down, we find an area that has some statues and even crystal clear flowing water. This water is flowing towards a light at the end of a tunnel. As we go towards the light, we end up completing the third level and are met with the easiest level of the game and arguably the most important for the story.
As I traveled, I witnessed for the first time sadness, suffering, decay. I started to fear that I had made the wrong choice to leave all I knew. But now how could I ever even go back? Now that I have the knowledge of what lies beyond the illusion of paradise, my questioning drives me further down to a deeper source of understanding, to a purpose for this world's suffering.
This is the first area that has had clear water and depicting grand architecture of observers who climb towards the heavens. There's also a number of religious images carved into stone that help us understand a bit more about the world. Most notably is that the people worshipped or at least idolized an image of an illuminated eye, and this is what the observers are climbing towards. There's also an enigmatic image that shows the eye concealing something at the center of the structure. After we finish up exploring, we end up traversing down a bit further and we complete the 4th level. The protagonist is seen resting and contemplating that after being in such a beautiful place, he expected to have a revelation of some sort.
With everything I've seen, I question how the observers that came before me could pay tribute to such a deity. What revelation did they have? I anticipated if I would ever come to a large revelation myself. However, after 5 years of waiting for nothing, I began my continued descent down.
As we journey down further, we once again see the scale of this structure, and considering how far we have already traversed, it's kind of insane that we see the outside of the megastructure and we are seemingly still above the clouds. We do finally reach a very ominous door with a single streetlight overhead and decide to go inside. The area we arrive in feels unnerving, and as we go down a bit deeper, we realize that it's an abandoned tram station, to which the rail system has been destroyed, along with the emergency lockdown being enabled. So the only way out is through the air ventilation system. The air ventilation system leads us to the Undercity. Here is where we discover that 2 different cities were actually at war with each other over a misunderstanding, as the Undercity was accidentally cutting off the supply lines for the city above them for years without knowing it. So the city above them attacked, which led to an all-out war, and now they lack food and supplies.
Everything I had in abundance, those before me would wage wars over and struggle to obtain. They are forlorned, without hope. I will find the cause of this, and I will unseal what's been hidden from us.
As we move on and continue our descent out of the city and complete the level, we arrive at an area called the Foundation. This area is like a deserted desert biome, but we see remnants of a fairly advanced civilization that was also likely at war at one point, as we see the charred remains of both people and unpiloted drones that carry ammunition and explosive weapons. Most notably, though, is that we stumble upon a giant machine called the Harvester, which was designed to create and transport food to the different colonies. However, the observer that used to live and take care of this area moved on, and now food production has ceased. As we travel further down and make it past a large windy chasm, we find a sealed tunnel with an eye and an inscription that reads, Om's Venient, which translates to, all will come. We climb upwards now though, and we see a large triangular rock that we can use to unseal the tunnel and complete the level. As we slide down the tunnel, our pickaxe breaks and we're left with only parkour skills to traverse. It's also revealed that we are in a place called the Sunken City. Evidence suggests that the observers here were driven to drink the black liquid due to there being no sources of water, and some would even remove their helmets despite the air being poisoned. After navigating the darkness, we arrive at an area where we once again see clear water. However, when we scan it, a large concentration of fungal spores is detected in it, And close by, we see a man who is standing near an ancient religious symbol. This man is lamenting that he wasn't supposed to see something. However, his deliriant ramblings are hard to decipher. As we move along, we find some other poor souls that appear to still be alive, but in an immense amount of suffering. Before long, though, we see something up in the sky. A light that looks like a tired eye, gazing down in judgment. As we climb further up, we see what seems like an impossible spire. We arrive at what can only be described as an ancient temple with black and white checkered tiles and a machine in the center of it where the eye can view it in full gaze. As we approach the machine, we see a computer and it reads, "I understand," repeatedly very quickly, and then flashes of a light erupt from the machine and the spherical portal lights up with an inviting glow. As we jump into the portal and complete the level, the eye in the sky fully awakens, as do we, once again, in some sort of paradise.
I woke up in a place that was like my home, where I began. This doesn't make sense though. I refuse to accept the illusion any longer, and I will get out of here.
We have regained our pickaxe and even a new ability to swing and rappel with a zipline. As we scan things, we still have questions, such as who made this structure and why does the structure allow so much suffering? Why are we cruel to one another? And what is being hidden from us? Which are all questions that we outside of the game's world have been questioning this entire time while playing. When we navigate to the center of this paradise, we see another portal erupting from what looks to be the black goo and or fungal material we have seen throughout this game. When we scan it, we finally come to the revelation about the nature of reality and our journey. Though the only thing we can do at this revelation is attempt to escape. Then we run through the hardest level of the game that's dripped with dark psychedelia all over, and we try to avoid dissolution. As we traverse through the darkest corners of the shifting megastructure, we finally reach the end, and as we leave through the light, we see an egg hatch open with us inside. As the final words are spoken by the shepherd, we're left pondering what actually transpired throughout the game, and of course what is going on within the lore of this game's world. Just like the protagonist, we understand that we were lured into a trap set up by a demonic entity, but as the demon himself says, he does it to serve his purpose. So what is that purpose? To fully understand, you're going to have to strap in and take a look at sources outside the context of the game's world and draw parallels from it. So let's go all the way back to the beginning. Now, throughout the entirety of the game, it's obvious that the observer questions the nature of his reality, much as we do throughout the game and our daily lives within the real world. Why do we exist in this megastructure? How did this universe come into existence? Why do we experience life consciously? The observer is born in a part of the megastructure that is perfect. However, this perfection doesn't make him content. He wants to understand his purpose and what is beyond what he currently observes. So he is willing to leave perfection behind in the pursuit of knowledge. This directly mirrors the biblical Garden of Eden story of giving up perfection to acquire the knowledge of good and evil. Of course, within the biblical context, this is a trick by the serpent, who is the enemy of God, the Creator. So within the game, the observer questions his paradise and then is led into temptation and removed from paradise, no longer being guided by light alone, but also darkness in the form of an owl, which is historically a symbol within spirituality of knowledge, wisdom, and even death and rebirth, which ironically, as we escape the simulation and are not dissolved into the madness and hellscape of the megastructure, we are born again from an egg, with a shepherd now there to guide us and warn us not to go down any further, but rather climb, or as the ancient Cistern depicted, ascending to the all-seeing eye. So we're encouraged at the end to try to essentially go back to paradise. Even if we don't make it there, we will climb and suffer through the ascent. This is directly referenced in the prequel, almost tech demo one-level experience called Hatch, which is also made by the developers of Lorns Lure. In this experience, though, we are birthed from an egg and told to avoid the sun's gaze as we travel upwards. A few things are familiar here, as the sun is definitely the eye that we see in darkness, and when we make it to the top of the structure, we see a familiar shepherd there to guide us. So whether we are in the darkness or the light, the shepherd always tells us to ascend even if we fall down. Certainly, this is a reflection of faith and the religious structure that we have in the real world. The question that everyone has to ask, though, is who made the serpent and who made the lure? Now, this is a question I've obviously had within my own upbringing within Christianity, and probably why I love this game's story and world so much, is the question of what is the point of a creator creating a paradise only to create a being that will lead people out of that paradise and into death? Within the game, the demon specifically says that the observer is lured so the demon can serve its purpose. Ironically, all while you are attempting to escape the madness of your mind unfolding, you are seeing a repeated motif within the game and its temples, the black and white checkerboard. The black and white checkerboard is a symbol of duality, or the idea of two opposing forces working together as one whole piece in unity. The serpent is placed in the Garden of Eden to tempt mankind and give them a choice of free will. The serpent was once an angel, created with all the attributes, thoughts, and will to fulfill a purpose of tempting mankind and presenting the option to disobey. And with that in mind, we can apply the same exact concept to the lure. So the demon and the eye are simply two different sides of the same coin. One, the tempter with the purpose to serve the eye, feeding on those who question faith. the other to keep you climbing to ascend into a paradise of ignorance, with both resulting in endless torment. So whether you follow and seek knowledge or ascension, there is truly no point, because you will never fully grasp the entirety of life and creation. No matter what you choose, you will always be trapped within a lure, whether it's the lure of paradise and blissful ignorance, or the hellish madness of unraveling one's mind to understand and come to the knowledge of the Creator. Alright, you guys, that was Lorns Lure. That is my overall interpretation of the story. So kind of the first thing though is I just want to say, please go support the developer on Steam. But the other thing is, go down below as you're clicking that like button and subscribing if you're new here. Please consider posting a comment on if you want to see other elements of this game explored. But if you made it to this point in the video, I just want to say thank you so much. You are the real ones and the people who will actually probably come and join the Discord server. So I'm super excited to have you there, and I will see everyone in the next video.